Alright, so welcome to the second journal discussion of Group 4. We are glad that you are still here with us. In the second journal, I'll be accompanied by Ms. Alvian to discuss some important points within the journal. From the first journal, we have discussed on the teacher identity development using mediation and internalization processes. In the second journal, we'll be discussing about the teacher identity development in their first year of teacher education using social psychological perspective. Okay, so in this presentation, we decided to focus on 4 elements, which are the background of the study, and then the psychosocial perspective on the teacher identity development, and then the findings, which is related with the discussion, and then the last one is the implication. Okay, so we move to another slide in here. So talking about the background of the study, the researcher aimed at knowing the development process of teacher identity profession, which related with their personal identity development and their social identity connections. Within this course, the researcher mentioned that an individual must carry unique experience in educational setting, and they also have other memorable experiences outside their academic lives. Thus, they may present their own belief on what kind of image that the teacher is. So, how can those aspects affect to the teacher's professional development? Are they related to each other? So let's see in here. Okay, so from the psychosocial perspective, we can give you some hints which are related with the influence between the psychological factors and also the social environment factors that interrelated with someone's behavior. So actually the big theory that is used in this research is from Erikson. So as we know that Erikson is popular with 8 stages of psychosocial development, which includes some stages of human life during their infancy, early childhood, preschool, school age, adolescence, young adult, middle adult, and maturity. In each crucial stage, it carries different outcomes that the individual must achieve. For example, in their late adolescence, they need to develop a sense of personal identity in order to help them shaping their beliefs, ideals, and values that can guide their behavior later. Under this theory, the researcher believes that a person needs to pass this stage if they want to be successfully developing their true self. If a person, namely a teacher wannabe, has a strong personal identity, they are likely to display a strong determination and followed by a high rate of professional identity development. Why? Because they know how to navigate their lives, meaning that they have range stability to do their jobs as a teacher. Okay, so we move to another part of this discussion. We are talking about the development of the personal identity earlier, right? But what if they fail to develop their personal identity? What will happen to them? They may perform a weak sense of self. In this research, we are referring to self-delusion, which means a person experiences self-doubt, lacks of sense of purpose, direction, and commitment. If the teacher wannabe performs to weak personal identity, they can perform weakly in their teaching profession also. We can say that the personal identity is important in developing the teacher identity and closely related with the success of their professional identity. Alright, so the second major issue that the researchers want to raise in here is about the self-categorization. Within this theory, we can assume that a person needs to differentiate between the personal identity or their sense of uniqueness as an individual and their social identity, which means they have the self-concept based on the membership of the social group. With their sense of uniqueness, a person has some distinctiveness that differs to other people. In a particular situation, a person may perform a salient identity, or we can say a dominant self or dominant identity that related with the context in the situation. For example, in a big forum discussion of teaching, a student-teacher identity will be more salient because they perform in that discussion. Meanwhile, if the self-categorization happens within the social group, which they are inherently belong to that group, in a particular situation, the self-categorization will be salient if the matter is on that certain ethnic. For example, the student teacher from other Western countries may have higher level of teacher identity, whereas from other countries they are considered having the lower value. Alright, so the next thing that the researchers want to raise in the research in here is about the generativity. So actually, the generativity is still related with 8 stages of human development of Erik Erikson. Within this generativity stage, the teacher professional identity between the adult teacher and the student teachers are shaped. In this stage, the adults have more responsibility in nurturing the younger generation in terms of transferring their knowledge and teaching. The adult teachers want the younger generation to have the contribution and create some positive changes in the society. If they successfully apply this to the younger generation, they will develop the sense of unity between the older and then the younger generations. Thus, it is clear that both of the adults and the younger teachers may share some new experiences during the process of developing their identity. Alright, so that's all from me. And then the next part will be discussed by Mas Alvian. Bye bye!
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Alvian and I'm going to continue Stella presentations on teacher identity development in the first year of teacher education, development in social psychological perspective by Friesen and Beasley in 2013. So here we already discussed about this this one personal identity, social identities, and generativity, and also the development of teacher identity. So this part or those items are very important in these articles. Here, we already know that there are 8 stages in the psychological development proposed by Erikson, and researchers uh, is explain about generativity here in the 7 stages, and then also identity in the 5 stages here. So we are on 5 stages until 6 stages here. Okay. Okay. The goal of this study was to describe the correlations between aspects of personal and social identity, generativity, and also the development of teacher identity in the first year of teaching, and to examine which aspect of personal identity and social identity and to generativity. The research want to predict teacher identity after controlling several covariates. So this one, covariates. Covariates here consists of gender, age, previous experience with children, and also prior academic achievement, and also enrollment status. Next, the result showed that at the budget levels, there was significant relationship between each of the study variables and teacher identity here. We can see that teacher identity was rated the highest over personal identity. Teacher identity, ethnic identity, and also gender identity. So it means that they believe that teacher identity is important for them and teacher identity development is important for the students. The next one. The result hypothesis, the researcher hypothesis, the result showed that at the bivariate level, there was significant relationship between each of the study variable and teacher identity. I mean, teacher identity is correlate with personal identity, or student identity. Teacher identity is correlate with generativity, something like that. And then participants who have become parents and those with previous experience working with children showed high level of teacher identity compared with non-parents and those without experience working with children. It means that if we already become parents, we will have high levels of teacher identity compared with non-parents. And for those who have experience working with children, we show high level of teacher identity also, right? So that one is important point in this article. The next one, this one, we are going to see the control variables. Okay, we see here that the previous work experience, the children showed higher value here with 86.5. Okay, and then the next one is full-time students, so show higher level of controlling teacher identity. So the lowest, the lowest variable is that gender is was that little, has small small contributions to the teacher identity. Increased generativity was significant associated with increased teacher identity at the bivariate level. It means that if their age is above 40, they will have higher teacher identity, right? So they will become with a care to others, care to the juniors, care to the students. So if they are lecturer, they will have higher level of teacher identity. The next part, the bivariate correlation between the age of participants and the teacher identity suggested a significant trend for all the students to have a higher teacher identity. So it means that the age of participants has and significance to the higher teacher identity. As stated in the table, right? So the age here is the lowest, has the lowest score, 28.49. Okay, we come to the research suggestions. It will be more important for further research to continue and to identify this research and test this life course experience with different conceptualizations of teacher identity and professional orientation. So the orientations of the next researcher, according to this author, is to study about the professional identity, to discover how significant difference between students with previous experience with children and those without experience, and all measure provisional orientation, past orientation, self-efficacy, and commitment to teaching collectively shape professional teacher identity. Next one, we come to strength of this study. The strength of this study that is they adapt well researched theoretical framework. They adapt uh, Erikson psychological development theory, right? So and social psychology also. This is the strong point of this journal article. And then the second one, they use relatively large sample of students. If the population is 500 and they use 20% of them, it means the participants is around 109 students. Okay, so they have huge sample. The potential to add new measures to the current pool of teacher identity measures. The next step is limitations. We are going to, and this research also have limitations, some limitations. The first one is the research employed cross-sectional design, which limits any concentration of causal directions from the current findings. So the cause and effects of this of one variable to the other variable has not been discussed of in this research paper. Then the second one is need for longitudinal research. There is this paper contains only one semester research. So the time to conduct the research is need to be longitudinal research. So for example, from first year until 4 years of undergrad students, for example. And the number three, the result show evidence of good internal reliability and convergent validity for this method. But for the testing, it's necessary to discover how it may work for students who are more advanced in their education and training. Okay, so they have to our test the student they have advanced in their education and training. Next, we go to the implications. There is a great potential for exploring and understanding of professional teacher identity, such as social development and psychological process. The combinations of two of developmental perspective and professional teacher identity and social psychology has clear link with some research questions that can be tested at various stages of early and continuing teacher education, professional practice, and also diverse cross-cultural and professional development. And the third one, and the second one, the implication is that for teacher educators and the future researchers, this research is interesting to be conducted on several issues as the initial teacher of pre-service teacher education program that facilitates the development of identity both at the personal and social or collective level. Okay, and then the third part is pre-service teachers really on their experience when they are studying in college to develop their identity of their initial teachers. So here I'm going to emphasize that lecturers or teacher educators may need to challenge students, okay, through what's that? To challenge them to what's that? To explore why they want to become teacher. Okay, that question is important for pre-service teachers. Thank you for watching and goodbye.